Alrighty, we are looking at exponential growth regarding COVID-19. So, what is exponential growth? Well, the Center for Evidence-Based Medicine describes exponential growth as when the speed of growth is proportional to the size of the population. That's exponential growth, right? So basically, it's the process of growing in which the rate of change is derived from the previous value. So for example, cell division is a good example of exponential growth because as each cell divides, it doubles the number of cells each period, right? So, comparing this to polynomial growth, right, they can look similar, but there are some core differences. So, over here we have x squared, but just the positive x values for it, right, because this is half of a parabola. And over here we have 2 to the x, right? Now, they look similar, but the main difference is that the rate at which the slope changes on a polynomial function is constant, right? But on an exponential function, the rate at which the slope changes is constantly increasing. So even though the slope is constantly increasing on each one of these, the rate at which it increases is constant on a polynomial, but not on an exponential, right? And that's why it's so powerful, and it increases to such high y values over a short period of x values. Now, to get a better understanding of this, if we say that these graphs are a distance over time graph for like a car driving, the car on the left here would be driving at a constant acceleration, right? So it's constantly accelerating at the same rate, right? While the car on the right is also constantly accelerating, but the rate at which it is accelerating is also constantly increasing, right? Now, when we take something like that and apply it to a deadly disease like COVID-19, you can see some pretty alarming results. So, I decided to focus on the state of California. Here is a graph showing the weekly cases of California starting from early 2020 to late 2022. And there are a couple spikes that you could say are represented by an exponential function, but I decided to go with the obvious one seen right here. So the dates I decided to do are December 1st, which is right about here, and December 5th, which is right about here, right? Now, as you can see, it was following a very dangerous path, and that function is represented by this. And you can see, if it were to be left untreated, it would have been even more devastating, right? So, this goes to show the devastation that a deadly virus can cause should it go untreated. And having every day more and more people get sick, right? And I even wanted to have this function, the red line, go a little bit farther, but if I were to let it go just one more week, one more unit, it would have dwarfed the actual cases from California. So this was the best representation, right? Now, exponential growth isn't always a bad thing, right? There are some positive uses for it. So, one example, it's very utopian, but if someone is happy and therefore makes someone else happy every day, the growth of happiness would be exponential, right? Everybody who is happy makes someone else happy each day, right? So, the rate at which people are gaining happiness is constantly increasing exponentially, right? And a more grounded example would be cells that fight disease can divide and grow exponentially, with which can help someone's immune system and help them fight off deadly viruses like COVID-19. Now, it's also very easy to undermine the severity of these spikes, right? If we look over here, you can see that it's easy to undermine this because it tends to go back down, and it kind of ends there, and it's easy to just look past that. But if you look at each one of these spikes, the rate of the exponential function is alarmingly fast, right? If this were to go on for slightly longer, it would have caused the death of many people, which is why it's very, very important to be mindful and use these resources and equations to observe and understand the severity of these deadly viruses, especially when living through a pandemic like we are now. Right. And finally, all resources used for this presentation are cited below in the description. So yes, that is a demonstration on exponential functions regarding COVID-19. Thank you for your time.